You may see him on the screen. His name is Richard Gordon. He's a best-selling author. He is a quantum healer. Does energy medicine, and today he's going to talk to us about attracting miracles. And so, with that, Richard, thank you so much for being here at Emergence Festival. It's amazing having you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And my promise to you is in the next hour, we're going to change your life forever. But outside of that, why exaggerate? So here's the thing. I was just asked to share a little bit of my background, so I thought I would. I've written 4 best-selling books on energy healing. They're in 17 languages. I've got certified practitioners in my work in over 50 countries. My work is called Quantum Touch. I made a series of discoveries that went further and further and further. Last year, I got to show a group of scientists at the University of Arizona that I could align people in 1 second, where I can untwist their hips in 1 second and align their cranial bones spontaneously just by touching them with an object I'd meditated on. That was in my last book called The Secret Nature of Matter. And they all said it was real. They tested multiple people. They all agreed it was true. And then they, after about 8 minutes of measuring everybody, they said, well, there's no doubt this works. And 4 of them wanted to research and publish. And they got really excited and talked about the special equipment that they had, the MRIs, the CT scans, and ultrasound and other things. And then they all agreed that doing that would be academic suicide because there's no room in science for a phenomenon without a known mechanism. And then the head professor said there's probably no university in the US or Europe open to these discoveries. And he compared me to Ignaz Semmelweis, Gregor Mendel, James Lind, and a host of others. And he said, well, you're probably not going to be recognized while you're alive. And that was the end of that discussion. So what I've done is I found ways of amplifying energy healing really powerfully. We've got practitioners of every modality who say this transforms their practice. It's called Quantum Touch if you want to look it up. I'm also equally fascinated finding emotional causation. I found a very concise method. Within 10 or 20 minutes, we know exactly why a person has a condition. It took me 30 years to get to the other side and figure out all the steps of the process. But not only did conditions go away, but people feel grateful that they had had the condition. They called the condition a dark miracle in retrospect because it was perfectly aligned to show them how they were blocking their love. And it was perfectly surgically correct to remind them of what they weren't experiencing. I just moved to Maui. I was in Mexico the last 5.5 months, living in Tulum. I'm making a new home in Maui. If anybody's here, get hold of me. I'd love to meet the community. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, I'm also fascinated with houses that'll last 1,000 years, curvilinear, curved space. I've got a new technology for that, and maybe 3 or 4 other passions like cryptocurrency and other things. So on to the subject of miracles. That's just a little bit about my background. I'm going to show you why, when you've learned the law of attraction, you've been taught to struggle. You've been taught to look through the wrong side of the telescope and to make it hard, make it really difficult. And I'm going to show you how to make it effortless. And if that's not good enough, you're going to have to just manifest all kinds of miracles along the way. So look at pretty much every single teacher who teaches law of attraction. Oh, by the way, I've been working on my new book. It'll be out maybe in about 6 weeks. It's going to be called Hacking the Law of Attraction for Effortless Manifestations. So I'll probably mention that again, but that'll be out in about 6 weeks. But this is the preview. I'm going to teach you everything from the book that you absolutely have to know. There's a lot more in the book, but this is the essence of it. You don't have to buy the book. You can just use it right now, and you're going to be able to do it before this is over, and you're going to understand and experience the reality of it. So how do they teach it? They say, imagine what you want. Everybody starts there. Believe you already have it. Live as if it's already too. Live in that vibration. You know what that's called? It's called lying to yourself. What part of spiritual growth is lying to yourself? It doesn't make any sense if you think about it. So I don't have the money. I don't have the car. I don't have the fame. I don't have the bikini body. I don't have the husband. No, you don't. And I'm going to pretend that I do. And I'm going to fool the reality into believing that I have it. That's crazy talk. So before I tell you the secrets, I'm going to read something that took me 3.5 days to write. It's 174 words. I'm going to put this right after the dedication in the book. It's a different way of holding the metaphysics, and then I'll explain the whole thing. And I've read this hundreds of times, and every time I read it, I feel like I receive it more. Because to understand something isn't just to get it here, it's to get it through all your chakras. Because we understand things not just in our head, we understand things in our communication, in our throat, we understand things in our heart, we understand it in our gut, we understand it in the pleasure centers and all the way down to the root. We understand things on many levels. That's why an intellectual is so foolish to think that it's just a belief. It goes all the way through your chakras. So here's how it goes. I wrote, intense suffering always feels too real. Yet joy and gratitude feel like a dream. Why is this? The physical world is the illusion. Our bodies and possessions are illusions. Love is that which is most real. The more love you feel, the more real you become. Manifestation is bringing something from reality into the illusion. There are countless possible futures. Any of them could manifest. Any joyous future you can imagine is more real than you are now, because it has more love and less suffering. The more love you feel, the more you become real. Manifestation is not about making a future real. The new future is working to make you more real. You are not manifesting a beautiful future. The beautiful future is manifesting you. Relax and let the future love you. Let it heal and transform you. The secret is to be changed by love. The secret is to be changed by love. The miracle you seek is you. You think it's the things that you want, but it's not the things at all. You are the miracle that you're seeking to discover who you truly are. So we're going to turn this all around. Now, imagine if you meet your fairy godmother and she says, I'm giving you one wish. What are you going to ask? Well, it's obvious. I want an infinite number of wishes with no unintended consequences, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today is I want you to have an infinite number of wishes without unintended consequences. And on this happy note, let's start the process. It goes like this. When you imagine something that you want to have, there's thousands of possible futures, and they're all real. We live in the illusion. We think our bodies are real. We think the things are real, but they're actually illusions. The love is the part that's actually the most real. So instead of trying to use will and force, and I'm going to get my whiteboard and my affirmations, and I'm going to believe that I have this and live as if it's, no, screw that. It's just noise. In fact, it's the very opposite of allowing. Allowing is ease and flow, not manifesting and doing and creating and believing and acting as if. That's crap, because there's no flow and allowance in that. A beautiful woman simply radiates and is attractive. She doesn't have to try to, I'm working at being attractive by sitting here. No, she's radiating, holding the space. That's allowing. So I'm going to show you a little more about this. We're going to do a process. So we're going to just do it right now. We're going to start doing the miracle now. So I want you to think of something that doesn't make you scared, that doesn't cause any fear, that doesn't cause excessive enthusiasm, but something you would like, that just makes you feel better. Maybe a sense of relief would be wonderful, a sense of easy joy, something that just makes you feel good. Because I don't want you to start on something hard. It never works. So start on something easy, because ease is the mark of spiritual growth. Whenever you're in a state of ease, you know you're growing. Whenever you're struggling and suffering, you know you're going the opposite direction of ease. So I'm going to give you a minute, and I'll be quiet, and just think of something that would just make you feel happy, joyous, really relieved, or grateful. So just think about that for a moment. Don't pick the hard one. Pick something that just, oh yeah, that would feel really good. Wouldn't that be nice if? That's a good sentence to fill in. Wouldn't it be nice if? All right. Hopefully everybody's thought of something. This is so great. We're going to get to do a miracle right now. We're not going to wait. No preamble. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you, I should tell you, I am going to give it a little preamble. I'm going to tell the story how I came up with this, and then I'll actually have you do the technique. This is such a good story. It was just around the time COVID struck, and all of a sudden my income from seminars around the world dropped to zero overnight. And I thought, well, it's only a matter of time before I'll lose my house. Because if I don't have any income, how am I going to continue paying over time? And I thought, well, let's see. I have this crappy stock that I bought 14 years ago in a bogus company that I've never been able to sell, and they won't work with anybody to help you sell it. And I tried all the logical ways. I contacted other companies, they won't talk to them. I contacted everybody on Twitter who was friends with the company. Nobody's interested in buying my stock. All right, I'm left with magic. So what I did was I found the future, the possible future, just like I'm telling you. I brought it forward to myself. I started sending energy to it. Since I've been doing energy work for about 45 years now, I know I'm very old, and just chronologically, and I started sending love to it, that future, just tons of love. And to my shock, my utter shock and surprise, it started loving me back. It started sending me energy. Oh my God, I can relax and receive this. Holy shit. And I just, it's loving me. And then I remember 10, 15, 20 times a day to just receive the love. And in 2 or 3 days, I'm just living in this light of incredible love and joy and gratitude and relief of this new vibration. I'm not manifesting it, it's sending me love. It's healing me. It's vibrating here, and I'm down here somewhere, and it's bringing me up to speed with itself. And when I match it, manifestation happens. That's it. So about 3 days after I did this, my business partner gets a letter in the mail from a stranger in New Zealand who's asking about this stock. Within 5 or 6 weeks, I had about 3 years of income come to me from selling some of my shares. He tells me he's got another 5 years of income to send me fairly soon, but he doesn't want to be pushy and push the deal. It's taken a long time, but it's all flowing. Then I sold my house in 5 days at the asking price, but there's bonuses. When I sold the stock, I got to be friends with this guy, and then we're going to turn on other people who have this crappy stock, and we're going to help them sell their shares too. And they're so thrilled to make 5 or 10 times what they put in. They're happy to give me and my buddy a finder's fee. So that was the bonus. When I sold the house, I fell in love with the buyers, and I gave them all my outdoor furniture, and I gave my dining room table, and I gave them this massive ficus plant in the living room. And I felt so in love with them, and I felt so happy that they were the caretakers and the lovers of this beautiful, beautiful house that I had had. And then when I was in Tulum, I was sitting in this apartment. We only had one set of keys, and my housemate would knock on the window in case we couldn't hear the message on the phone. And I'm sitting there, and there's a knock on my window. What the hell can that be? So I open the door and look out the gate, and there's these 2 guys with a key, and they're coming in. I said, "Hey, what's up?" And they say, "Oh, we're just coming in." Why would they knock on my window? The guy stares at me, and he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm into energy healing." He goes, "Oh my God, we got to talk." So I invite them in, we talk, and they triggered my desire to make a documentary. They weren't the right people, but they triggered my desire. So I rewrote my whole script to my documentary. I'm going to greenlight my own documentary next year. It's going to be called The Galileo Project. I found a producer, I got a director, I got a distributor, And I'm making enough money with crypto that I'm going to be able to fund the sucker myself. Okay. I'm going to put up the initial seed money and I'm going to be the executive producer. So I don't have to ask permission of anybody. This is just more miracles. And there's been so many miracles, I can't name them all. I wanted to give you a few examples of crazy shit miracles, just things that, like, who knocks on your window and then triggers your desires. I'm into 3D curvilinear printed houses, and I'm meeting, some guy comes up to me and says, hey, I'm really interested in 3D curvilinear printed houses. I go, oh my God, that's one of my favorite topics, right? I'm interested in so many alternatives. So I'm living in this crazy passion life. So, okay, back to the technique. You've got your desire. What I'd like you to do is, out of that deck of possible, wide range of cards of possible futures, just take the one you like and bring it towards you. I want it to be right in front of you, directly in front of you, like that. I don't want it to be off to the left or the right. That represents the past or the future for most people. Just directly in front of you. I want it to bring you a little closer, maybe. And I want you to love it. Now, the way I started this was I realized energy healing was powerful and I sensed energy, but I've since learned that most people can do it without knowing energy healing. So I wrote the book the way I thought it should be. And I went, oh my God, I don't have to teach it that way. So I said, well, let's just show you with love. And if you want to use the energy, it can give you more focus and power. So I got a whole chapter teaching that too. But for now, we don't need to know that. What I want you to do is breathe a little more deeply than normal, not pressing it, not pushing it, no effort. But I want you to just breathe your love from your heart chakra right into that desired future and light it up. Just light it up with love. This is easy. There's no stress. Just want you to love it. And I want you to feel the joy, the gratitude, the relief, the happiness, the fun of that future. And just fill it with your love. Just love it. It's a possible future, as all the other futures are possible. Now I'm going to tell you, have you ever gotten into a nice hot tub on a very cold night? How did it feel? Did you have to work to feel the pleasure of the heat? No, of course not. You go, ah, right? It's ah. Or a gentle rain on a summer day. You just go, ah. I want you to see if you can feel that future loving you, so it brings that ah feeling to you. That's called allowing. So just let it love you very gently or strongly. Just let it send love to you and just relax and open up to the ah-ness of it all. Ah. Just let it love you. Let it change. Because of the relief you're feeling, let it change your breathing. Let it help relax your body. Let it just bring its good feeling to you. You're not trying to manifest it. It's manifesting you. It's bringing you up to speed with itself. It's more evolved than you are. It's closer to your higher self. You don't have to do anything. All you need to do is receive it. Receiving is somebody rubs your back and you go, ah, that's receiving. Hot tub, gentle rain. These are experiences we have of receiving. And receiving isn't doing, it's just, ah, yeah. So just let that future just love you gently. There's no hurry. There's no speed. There's no stress. It's just easy. And once you're in a state of ease, you're growing faster. If you could but learn to allow, there's nothing else you'd ever have to know, because everything could be allowance. Now, with a show of hands, just raise your hand. Do you feel loved by your future? Well, I can't see too many people, but because I have an iPad, but I can see a bunch. I can see most of the hands came up. I don't know if anybody can see all the screens, but good, good. Yeah, so that's all there was to it. Now here's what you do with that. your assignment is to remember this 10, 20, 30 times a day and send it love for a few seconds or a minute. Just love it for a little bit and then just feel it loving you. Just remember and feel the love. Remember and feel the love. And after 2 or 3 days, it's going to feel like there's this sun or this light shining on you all the time. There's this new future that's just adoring you, and it's lifting your vibration all the time. And all you have to do is enjoy it. Now, guess what? Unfulfilled desires are the source of suffering, right? No, they're the source of new happiness, because we're not going to try to, like a lot of the Buddhists teach, to lower your desire. We're going to raise our desires, but we're going to raise our allowance levels to match those desires. So now unfulfilled desires become the source of joy, because when you have a new desire, you can find the future where it's true. You can find the future where it's true right now. And you can let that future start loving you. So the unfulfilled desire doesn't become a source of suffering, it becomes a source of gratitude, love, and joy. Now, a lot of people are going to get into control issues. Like, well, I have to know how it's going to happen. Really? When you receive a beautiful gift, do you have to know what's in it before you open the wrapping? If you know you're going to end up in a place that's really joyful, do you have to know all the twists and turns in the road ahead of time? Or can you just trust that it's going to be wonderful? One of my students in one of the classes, when I was teaching these little workshops and this stuff, she said, well, my parents, I was programming for this large amount of money. She was in China. And then I realized, oh my God, this is the exact amount of inheritance I would get if my parents' life insurance policy closed. Oh my God, I hope I'm not going to kill my parents. And I said, well, look, was the consequence of your meditation joy and gratitude, or was it grieving? Well, joy and gratitude. Well, there's no chance you could end up in grieving, because what you want is you want the emotional outcome of your desires, not the desires themselves. You see, we think we want the thing, but what we actually want is the emotions that the thing gives us. We're not really wanting the car or the whatever, the fame or any of that stuff. What we want is this emotional satisfaction, joy, gratitude, connection to source, love, all that kind of stuff that we would have if we had the thing. So here's another thought. What if instead of desiring the thing, you put out the desire that I want to feel incredibly relaxed within myself, feel incredibly joyful and grateful. I want to feel just so relieved that things are working well and that I can trust the universe and understand pronoia, the opposite of paranoia. The universe is conspiring on my behalf to love me, and I can relax and receive the blessings of this benevolent universe. Oh, I mean, I don't even have to know what I'm wanting? No, your higher self does 1,000 times more than you. You mean I can let go of control? Yeah. You mean the universe really knows my desires? Yeah, like a billion times more than you do. I mean, I can just receive without having to figure it out ahead of time and plan everything and control it all? Fuck yeah. Yes, that's a big yes. You can. You can relax and receive. So the more general your desires are, like, oh, I just want to be happy. I just want to feel relieved and grateful. I want to connect with people and feel so uplifted. I'm just really happy. Do I have to know who I'm going to meet, how it's going to happen, where I'm going to meet them? No, I just open to that vibration. I find that future among the many thousands of futures, because they're all real and they're all possible. I bring that future to me. I love it up for a few minutes. I then let it love me. And then I remember to let it continue loving me. How hard was that? And now you have the essence of my whole book. And you don't have to buy it. or you can if you like, because I have other things in there too. One of the things that I want to talk about is what happens if you don't get your miracle. This is a really important topic. You see, there are three primary arenas of our life: health, relationship, and successes. These are the only three arenas of our life. And some of us will allow ourselves to receive miracles in one, two, or all three arenas. Most people aren't ready to receive it in all three. Maybe they're ready in part of one arena. And that's fine. Wherever you can receive a miracle now is perfect. Receive your miracles. But if you want to receive them in an area where you're still blocked, I've got a few chapters on emotional process. We're not going to have time, obviously, in this short time to go through all the steps and processes, but how do we heal the hurt? How do we heal the anger? How do we feel the shame? How do we release the guilt? How to release the fears? These are the big ones that people confront. And so I provided that. How do we change our core self-image in those areas? And it took me 30 years to develop a process that would take people all the way through. And I thought, well, why don't I just give it in this little thing as well? So in the areas where you can receive miracles, open yourself up. It's that easy. Connect with the future, let it love you, be changed by it. But what happens if you program for this miracle, you open up to it, you receive it, you feel the happiness and the gratitude and the joy, and you receive exactly the opposite? And that can happen, and it does happen for some people. Actually, it happened to me many times. I've received the miracles that I wanted, and I received the miracles I didn't want. Let me give you an example. It's a little embarrassing, but it's true. I was in Tulum, Mexico, and I was just having the time of my life meeting the most wonderful people. It's like my new thing is like, oh my God, I can meet so many beautiful people and be so changed and love. I can love so deeply with so many people. And I met this woman, and I was really attracted to her, and she was flirting with me, and we're just getting to know each other. It's just the beginning, and it just feels really comfortable. And then this beautiful wizard healer I hadn't seen in a month just shows up at that moment. And then I saw what flirting actually looked like. I thought she was flirting with me, but I had no idea what flirting really looked like. Oh, can we go there? That would be so much fun. And, okay. So, okay, that wasn't really flirting with me. This is what flirting really is. Okay, I get it. Well, I've worked really hard on my book all day, and I met a lot of people, and I'm tired. I'm ready to go home, and I'm discouraged and a little sad. So I start walking back to my place, about a 12-minute walk. It's lovely. And as I'm walking by, I'm about a block away from Holistica, this wonderful holistic center. And my buddy who works at the Tiki Tiki Hotel, Andreas, he calls me and says, hey, Richard, come on in here. Okay. I get a hug. And by the way, nobody's wearing masks, and we're all hugging and cheek kissing and shaking hands, and nobody got sick. I got hundreds of phone numbers of people. Nobody's gotten sick. Anyway, I should put my mask on. Oh my God, I forgot. Oh well. So what happened was he calls me into the Tiki Tiki Hotel. And I come in there, and I'm like, oh, it's like, how are you doing, Richard? Good to see you. I'm okay. It's fine. And then as I'm standing there, in there for 15 or 20 seconds max, somebody comes walking behind me and says, package for Richard Gordon. And I said, I'm Richard Gordon. And I put out my hand, and it's in my hand. I had ordered something 2 weeks ago, because I didn't have an address, to be delivered at the Tiki Tiki Hotel. And as soon as the package was in my hand, I got the message. That guy showing up at that moment was a miracle. It was a dark miracle. It was a painful miracle. And I had that miracle many times in the next weeks to come. I kept seeing it over and over again. What was the message? The message was that I had processed the wounding of the inner child, where my mom became disassociated, and I didn't feel loved by the time I was 7 or 8 or 10. And I felt very wounded and isolated and broken. We all get broken as part of the process. But what I had forgotten was how deeply connected I felt before that had happened. When I was 3 and 4, I was amazingly adored and loved. And that was why it was so painful to feel the disconnection. So what I would have, I'd have these women hold my hand and say, I want to be with you forever. And oh my God, you're the most amazing person. I just adore you. And then they disappear. And I kept seeing this, or some other guy would come up and then they would just disappear immediately. And I kept seeing this miracle over and over. And it was really painful. And I kept watching it. And then I had to do my own inner process work and say, all right, what am I holding to keep attracting this experience? And what I saw was, where it was given and then taken away. I had processed the 6-year-old, 7-year-old who was feeling disconnected, but I didn't connect it to the one that was so adored and then was taken away. So I had to do more inner work. And we're always going to attract either light miracles or dark miracles. And I came up with the term dark miracle. A dark miracle is just as much of a miracle as the brilliant one that you want. But it is a gift from your higher self to remind you of what you still need to learn and what you still need to process emotionally. Dark miracles always feel like tragedies. They always feel painful. There's nothing good about it when it happens. Aha. It's only when you get to the other side that you come to the understanding and the realization that it was meticulously orchestrated, perfectly orchestrated to give you the exact experience. So when I'm sitting with somebody who has a physical ailment, a cancer, you name it, whatever it is, I ask them a series of simple interrogative questions. When did it begin? What emotions do you feel? What's it keep you from doing? Just a whole bunch of questions. And I write down all their replies. I don't want to know their story. It doesn't help me at all. I just want to know everything about their experience. And I write it down, about 8 or 9 questions, maybe 10, and I get 30 or 40 replies. And then I take some of the most graphic replies. It takes 10, 20 minutes to get everything out. And I say, well, 9 years ago when this began, was there an emotional situation that felt like, and I read a few of their most graphic replies, like you were being repeatedly stabbed in the back, that you felt absolutely hopeless and depressed. And they go, well, yeah, was there a situation 9 years ago that felt that way? And go, well, yeah, well, what was the title? Well, my divorce or something like this. And I said, okay, well, let's go through them all. And I walk through all 40 of their replies, and all 40 of them match the experience of their symptom like a glove, and they match the experience they had 8 years ago or 9 years ago, whatever it was, like a glove. And I say, what do you do with those emotions? They say, they're the ones I never want to feel. And then I pass them the list and say, maybe you're feeling it in your body instead of feeling it as emotion. And they let themselves get it. That, oh yeah, that's what happened. And then it took me 30 years after I came up with that insight to see all 7 steps of a process. And so I covered those steps briefly in this new book. But essentially what the steps are, number 1, what's the emotional cause? You got to get it. You can't do step 2 without step 1. You got to know why you have the situation. Step 2 is the release, obviously. Well, how do you consciously release the deepest grief? How do you release the hurt, the anger, the shame, the guilt, and so forth? There's different techniques for each one of those. You've got to get the anger out of your system because it's an active emotion that'll keep manifesting. You see, what happens is all our wounds are still alive. And what we do is we're projecting them into a future, and then they condense into a physical reality. And that's why the future, the present always rhymes with the past. It isn't that we're recreating the past, it's we're taking the past, we're throwing it into the future, and the future is breaking upon the shore of the present. And then we're experiencing that present but it's actually pieces of the past being thrown into the future that then become our present. What happens is when we use the miracle technique that I just showed you, we're creating a new future and we're allowing that to manifest. But the wounds need to be expressed. So the first step is the understanding what the emotional cause is. The second step is all the release work, healing the shame, the guilt, the anger, and the fears, and all that stuff. The third step is what I call the dangerous step, because if you didn't do the first 2 steps, you're not capable of doing the third step. You need to own it. You need to have done the emotional process work before you take responsibility for it. A lot of people, well, you create your reality, take responsibility. No, you first need to know what it was and release the intensity before you take responsibility. And the responsibility is realizing I hurt myself by doing this. The fourth step is the remorse, realizing, wow, I really did hurt myself. And then the self-forgiveness. And there's a powerful self-forgiveness process that creates explosive, overwhelming self-love. And from that self-love, it turns into love of higher self. So the forgiveness turns into self-love, and that turns into, holy shit, like you took mushrooms or something, a psychedelic, like, where it's outside of language, levels of self-love. And oh, by the way, not only did the symptoms go away, now you're grateful you had the condition. So that's the depth of the work that I like to see, where we take things all the way from the discovery of what the cause is, all the way through not only the release, but the forgiveness and the transformation that's so deep and profound that you have a new identity and that you have a new connection to source. So I'd like to open this up for discussion or questions and let you unmute yourself if you want to, and we can chat about this. Yep.
Right. All right. Who has a question? Would you like to either raise your hand or put the little hand up? Naresh.
Richard, I would like to want you to talk more about grief, emotional release, like how to process that.
Well, for grief, I'm going to give you a technique that you can use. Grief and deep hurt is a wound to the soul, and wounds take time to heal. So this takes exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes. So what you do is you prepare yourself in advance with what I'm going to share, and you set your timer on your phone, turn off your phone, set the timer for 20 minutes, and you dive into grief. But it's kind of like you're an athlete and somebody's saying, 10 more pull-ups, 10 more pull-ups, come on, you can do another 10. And you force yourself to stay into grief. Now, it's really easy to be in grief for 2 minutes, maybe 3. If you're really good, maybe 4 or 5. Nobody can do 20 minutes solid. So what you do is you force yourself. Mind's going to wander. You're going to want to take a break. Don't give yourself a break. 20 minutes solid. Force yourself. Stay in the grief. Stay in the grief. Stay in the grief. Oh, man, that's hard. But if you're really in grief, you got to dive in deep, because it's a wound to your soul, and you want to go all the way to the soul level of your grief. Stay in it. Force yourself for the full 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, the timer goes off, you drop it. And you plan in advance how you would like to be nurtured, because after grief comes nurturance. So you want to be nurtured. And that nurturance could be a walk, a massage, being with a friend, laying in the sun, getting in a tub, watching a movie, just experiencing some kind of pleasure, whatever, laying in a pool, being in the ocean, surfing, anything that brings you a sense of feeling nurtured, being in nature, whatever nurturance is to you, you plan it in advance. And then you kind of step out from the grief. Oh, I feel so relieved. I'm not feeling the grief anymore because I've forced myself for the full 20 minutes, pushed it really hard. And then I move into being nurtured for an hour. So as easily and fluidly as you can move from that to getting your massage or just laying in your hammock or whatever it is that's nurturing for you, go smoothly into that. Just feel that healing to your soul that you're going to experience. And that is a technique for releasing grief. Now, a week or 2 or 3 weeks later, you may feel the need to do it a second time. And if you do it a second time, do exactly the same process, but it's going to be much harder to hold the grief for 20 minutes. And what you're going to notice is that things that brought you tremendous grief the first time may not seem consequential, but other aspects of it you had forgotten about, or that maybe didn't appear to be so vivid, suddenly comes up. So it's going to be different. So the definition of humility And it takes humility to do this a second time, believe me. The definition of humility is the willingness to experience things as if for the first time. So humility is to see a new sunset or rainbow and, oh, and be willing to be vulnerable to the moment, to your experience in real time. That's humility. Not, oh, well, nobody's great, only God is great. No, that's not humility. Humility is being present to the moment to moment, and being changed by love, by being changed by your experience, being vulnerable to experiencing. So when you do this exercise a second time, if you need to, you be humble enough to see what's new about it. So that's a really powerful grief process that you can use. So anybody questions about the miracle process or the miracle technique? How did that feel? What are you experiencing?
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
I felt inspired. I was just like, my mind was going off into Richard's life. Like I was thinking about Richard on Kauai and all this, like, you know, how I'm only 26, feeling like, oh no, I live in a poopy apartment in downtown and violence and all this stuff. And I was just like, I'll be Richard one day. Like wearing my hat in Kauai, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I had another question.
Yeah.
Before I forget, you said there's a process for grief. What about fear? Like,
well, fear is more complicated because if you think about, see, most people don't think about their emotions. And what you want to do is you want to learn how to think, not what to think. And when you think about fear, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, what emotions would you feel if that happened? So what you're doing is you're anticipating anger, you're anticipating grief, you're anticipating humiliation or rejection or something terrible. So you're actually playing a fantasy. You're trying to imagine a reality that you don't want that would be very painful to you. And you're projecting that reality as something real. So you first need to understand, well, maybe I can just express those emotions. Hey, I'm really angry that I think my boyfriend is having an affair. I'm really angry that I don't think I'm being loved. Okay? So you project, you think through the fear enough to turn it into its real emotion, because you can't process the fear. If you're just stuck in fear, it just feels stronger and stronger. But if you process the emotion that the fear is suggesting, like, well, I'm afraid that this terrible thing's going to happen. What is the terrible thing? How would that make you feel? Well, why don't you feel that emotion instead of just feeling the fear? Maybe I can actually do something with those active emotions. Like, I'm really angry that I think this is happening and I don't know whether it is or not. I'm really angry that somebody could shoot me. Okay. I'm really angry that I'm living in a piece of shit place that I don't love. So let me imagine, what would it be like if I was in a place where I felt at ease? Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Well, do I have to know how that's possible? No, you don't have to know how it happens. Let the universe figure it out. There's a million solutions you can't imagine. I never imagined a stranger in New Zealand was going to write a letter to my business partner. Okay, it's just so. I've never imagined somebody's going to knock on my window and then trigger my desire to create my documentary.
Can you talk more about the miracle? I forgot what you were talking about, but your miracle.
There was a bunch of them. Well, the miracle process is the miracle process or the miracles that I had?
I would both. I don't know if you have time for that. I would love to hear about the miracles you've had, but how do I open myself up and remove my blockages?
We did the exercise a little earlier ago, just to review it. Find a future that you feel really relieved. Okay, let's just say you want a different apartment, okay? Or you want a different place to live, and you want to have this hat, okay? It's a very cool hat. I got it in Mexico. So you want to see yourself in a place where you feel incredibly happy and relaxed. So find that possible future amongst the many thousands of futures that exist. There's a future where you're even in a worse place. No, that's not good. Find the one where it makes you really happy. And then what you do is you bring it toward yourself, and then you send it lots of love. You just love that future. And then the trick is this. Once you've loved up that future for a couple minutes, Doesn't take a long time. You then let your future love you. It starts sending you love. It starts loving you. And then all you have to do is receive it like a nice hot tub on a cold night, or a gentle rain on a summer's day, or a massage, and you just go, ah, and let it love you 20, 30 times a day until it feels like a light shining on you all day, every day. And instead of being upset about the apartment, you're just so happy to feel this love coming from this new future. That's how you allow the future to change you now. This is the secret of miracles, because the law of attraction has been taught in order to struggle. I'm going to visualize that I have this, and I'm going to try to fool the universe to believe that I really do believe this, and I'm going to live as if it's already true. And 3 days later, I'm starting to feel self-pity, like, I don't have anything. I've been lying to myself all this time. I don't have this crap. You know, nothing good has happened. But when you get into the space of feeling the love from that possible future and being changed by love, the definition of being loved is being changed by love. I told you this time was going to change your life. This, if you do this one simple exercise of letting the future love you and change you, you will be changed forever. You will start attracting miracles. You don't have to buy my new book. If you want to, that's great. It's called Hacking the Law of Attraction for Effortless Manifestations. Won't come out for another month and a half. Not on Amazon yet. But that's what it is. It's a simple method to let yourself be changed by love. The future can be better than you can imagine. So there's no need to control it. You don't have to know every twist of the road as long as it takes you to a place you want to be. You don't have to understand it. So many people get caught up. My business partner was very caught up for a long time. I have to know how it's going to happen in order to believe it. No, you don't. There's miracles that could come in through doors we don't even know exist. Like who knocks on somebody's window? I have to reach up as high as I can to reach that window. Some crazy person knocks on the window and then triggers my desire to do a project that I wanted to do 9 years ago. And now I've met all these people that say yes to it, okay? And now I'm getting the money to make it happen. So there's so many brilliant possibilities.
Can you go into some details just before like we have to leave here about the actual miracles that happened? Like, because I didn't get the details of how was knocking on the window birthing this.
What happened was he knocks on my window with this other guy, and I open up my door and I look out the gate and I say, hey, what's up? And he said, oh, we have a key, we're coming in. There's no reason he knocked on the window. It didn't even make any sense. And he stares at me like, he says, wait a second, what do you do? He's like really curious about me. And I said, well, I've been involved in energy healing most of my life. And he goes, oh my God, and we got to talk. So I invite them in. And then he says, oh, you know, that he's connected to all these MMA professionals and he'd like to do this. And he knows Joe Rogan. And he's just telling me these tall tales. But this is what I wanted. I wanted to hear this. And it got me excited. And then the next day, actually a week later, I met this other guy who is a producer and he wants to produce movies. Well, he's not the right guy either, but he got me excited enough to rewrite my whole script for the documentary that I wanted to do. And then 2 weeks later, I meet a guy who is the right guy. He's a real producer in Hollywood. He loves the idea. He's well connected. And then I meet a distributor and I meet a director and I meet all these people and they're just coming through one after another to make this documentary happen. And now my cryptocurrency is growing in value so I could actually fund it myself, or at least get it started and make it happen. I can greenlight my own project. That's a pretty darn good miracle. But there have been so many of these kinds of miracles, one after another, sometimes multiple ones a day. And, you know, just being able to hold the space and be changed by love in and of itself is a miracle. But you start receiving one more and more and more. But you're also likely, if you start pushing too far, you're going to start seeing, oh, I'm not ready for this miracle yet because the miracle that I received is reminding me of my pain that I haven't processed. But that's also a gift. Because whether you get the positive miracle or the dark miracle, of where you're still blocked, it's still a miracle. And if you can embrace what the message is and not try to kill the messenger and just embrace what it's telling you and what you still need, what still needs healing, that's also a miracle, to heal what needs healing inside yourself. These are things that you can do.
Hey, Richard.
Yes.
Hi. I believe I have read your book, Quantum Touch.
Yes.
Mr. Therapist, and working with trigger points as if they're a frozen tab of butter, and imagine the light melting the butter.
Okay.
Keeps from bruising the muscles. Really interesting. I liked how you talked about it's the emotions that we want, feeling good, the awe, getting into the hot tub, and
Yes.
then you spoke of, so I can ask for love and harmony, and I really like the way that you put that, and I was hoping if you could reiterate on that again.
Well,
please.
so you want me to reiterate on how we
Yeah,
receive it?
because when you say, okay, so I can ask for love and
All right, I got your
bliss,
message. Yeah, yeah.
and so
Which
do you
which
find
one you do?
shadow work with that as well?
Well, the shadow work is what happens if you don't get what you want, and you got to do the shadow work. And the shadow work is more complex than we can go through in this amount of time. But the process of receiving is very simple, because you can have a very specific desire. If you have a desire for $100,000 by Thursday, there's a lot of tension. It's a very difficult desire. But if I have a desire for more money and feeling really satisfied and really happy that I can relax now because I have more money is general. General desires are much easier to receive. Oh, wouldn't it be great if I felt relieved that this was not a problem in my life? Oh, yes. Wouldn't it be great if I could go to Hawaii and to Maui and visit with Richard? Yeah, that would be lovely. Oh, that would be really fun. That's a fun desire. So let's be easy about it. We don't have to try to make this a serious thing. You see, if you're struggling with this technique, you're not doing it. It's got to feel easy and fun, because the process of getting what you want have to be through the experiences of being there, or you're crazy. The steps have to be aligned with the goals. The means have to be aligned with the ends, or you're a crazy person. And you're not going to get what you want. So what you want is to find a future where you feel relaxed and wonderful, where you feel happy, where you feel joyous, and relief is a really good one to go with, because it always feels so good. So think of a reality where, oh, I'm relieved, I don't have that problem anymore. Oh, it's so good, I just feel this openness. Then receive it like a hot tub. Receive it like a gentle rain on a summer day or a massage. Just let it love you. Nothing could be simpler than just letting that future love you, being changed by the love. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to try hard. You just receive the love and are changed by the love. That's all there is to it. It's that easy. And if you can just pick up this one small message, love your future, let it love you, be changed by the love, relax. You got it. That's the whole book. Okay? You got it.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much. We have two more questions, which is going to be Randall and Gigi, and then we have to wrap up. So, and honestly, this is amazing, and we could talk to you all day, and we're going to put your contact information here so people can get your books and do all the things. It's going to be so great. Okay, so we have, who was first, Randall or Gigi? Did you guys?
Gigi can go first.
Doesn't
Okay. Gigi, you want to go first?
Okay. So the question that I have is basically when it comes to going through your block, say your block is based on a belief, like a hard wired belief, and trying to go through that process that ranges all the way back to your early childhood. How are you able to focus on that block and basically blast through it? Because I feel
Right.
that
All right.
particular block. Oh,
The thing is, you're not going to blast through it
mm,
because that's the wrong approach. And it's the biggest topic we could talk about because a belief is based on 1,000 experiences and it's tied with identity. And so I have a whole chapter on changing identity and changing a core belief. And so I would suggest, in terms of miracles, don't start there. Start on things that would just make you feel happy and relieved. Because for the deeper ones, it's too big. It's too big to chew on right now. So you're going to need to do a lot of healing of the old pain and anger and hurt and guilt and shame or whatever vibrations are inside there. And then you're going to have to build a new identity. And then from that new identity, I put a whole chapter in, and then I realized I needed that chapter. So I started reading it and doing the exercises for myself and realized that was incomplete. I needed more. So I added to it, made it much richer. So that's going to be in there, how to change a core identity and belief. It's the deepest work you can do. So there's 3 arenas of our life: health, relationship, and successes. I suggest you find one of the arenas that you're more ready to receive, because you're not going to blast through it. What you're going to do is you're going to be healed through it. You're going to find a new identity, a new self, but you can't do that when you're attached to the old one. You see, we're very rooted to the core emotions of our past. Yes, you really were harmed in this way. You really were wounded in this particular manner. They really did it to you. And now you have this belief that love is being wounded, or whatever the belief is. So you're not ready to blast it out. You need to grieve it out. You need to heal it. You need to release the anger and the hurt and the shame and the guilt, whatever is inside there, to get that out of your vibration. And then you have to construct a new identity that you can step into. And then you need to keep reinforcing the new one, because a new script is going to be unfamiliar. So you're going to have to work on it. And I've created a whole bunch of magic to create a new script. And you have to be committed to it for like at least 2-3 months to step into the new script, but it's going to feel easy. And there's no blasting at all. You're going to release the past. You're going to let the new future love you. You're going to use the miracle techniques, and you're going to open to a new future. So that's the answer. And it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be a process, but you will become so much more in the process of doing that work.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Beautiful. And lastly, Randall.
So I would like to learn how to do the healing technique that you described earlier. What should I do next?
Okay, the emotional process is called self-created health. And you can look up Quantum Touch and the process self-created health. We have instructors around the world who are teaching workshops. Occasionally, I teach one online. But what it does is it teaches a 7-step process for finding and healing emotional causes. And I cover some of it in my new book, because I wanted to create much more depth than just a book on miracles. Because what happens when you can't do it in a certain arena? But you can find all the resources you want by looking up, doing an online search on self-created health. And it took me 30 years to develop this process. And I've had psychotherapists tell me, why didn't they just teach us this in school? This was all we really needed to know. This was the essence of everything we needed, because we had a couple of psychotherapists working with a woman who had been clinically depressed for 7 years. And they divided my little session up into 2 sessions. The first was, what are you really angry about? Because depression is not a lack of Prozac. It's a suppressed anger. So they found out what she's really angry about, and they gave her homework to release the anger, and she did it. And then they brought her back in, said, now you have to feel remorse for having hurt yourself by carrying this around so long. She could feel the remorse and say, okay, now it's time to do the self-forgiveness process. She says, this is too painful. I can't possibly do it. No, darling, you can. And they held her hand, said, just keep doing it, say the words, go through the process. And she does it, and she goes, oh my God, I can do this. I can do this. And she pops out the other side, and she is overwhelmed in love and gratitude. And she said it was all butterflies and rainbows. Her whole life became like this incredible gratefulness because she was able to release the pain and the hurt and the anger. And then she was able to connect with the self-forgiveness to get to the other side. And not only do the symptoms go away, but people feel intensely grateful that they had had the condition because the body has the ability to express it. The body has the ability to express it. And we have the capacity to become transformed. And then the wound becomes our gift. And then the gift becomes who we become. We are the miracle that we seek. The miracle you seek is actually you. And we think we want the things. We want the money, the fame, the power, the impact, the love, the house, all that. No, these are all illusions. What we really want is ourself back. We want to reconnect with our power. We want to find out who we really are. And my passion, my deepest passion, is changing the fundamental underlying beliefs of the culture and creating a bridge between science and spirituality. That I want to see whole new kinds of houses. I want to see new kinds of communities. I want to see millions of people creating billions of miracles and then transforming the world in a million ways I've never imagined. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm just tired of the mediocrity and the world run by adolescents. I'd like to see a new spiritual awakening for people 18 to 24, where we show them how to become spiritual adults by healing all the shame, guilt, and stuff, how to find their passions, how to become everything that I wish I had known that took me all these years to get. I'm going to give them all the gifts in like 2 weeks and have other people there to help heal their traumas and the shame and everything else, and then get them lit up to find out where they want to be and how they want to express themselves, and give them magic and tools where they can do the stuff. I've demonstrated that I could align 100 people simultaneously at the Smart Life Forum in Silicon Valley, but I can't even get my foot in the door to show scientists that consciousness effects matter. My latest book, The Secret Nature of Matter, is completely ignored. It's okay, because we're going to create a new future together. We're going to do miracles. And so what I want you to be is as lit up as you can. Connect to your most positive future as you can. Allow yourself now. Just find the ones that are easy. Don't try to do the hard ones, like change your core identity. Just find the ones you can receive. It's going to make you happier and happier. And as you become more ready, you can pick off bigger and bigger ones. Start easy with yourself. Anyway, thank you so much. I know we went over time, but I think you enjoyed it. So I'm very happy to share with you.
Beautiful, Richard. Thank you so much for being here. Can we all take ourselves off of mute?
Ashtahay.
Put our palms together with a big ashtahay.
Ashtahay.
Stay.
And
Thank you,
mahalo.
Richard.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
I'm so grateful for you, Richard.
Yeah, if you come to Maui, say hello.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Okay, everybody. We are reaching the